Here's something that might shock you. The very thing you've been desperately searching for has been surrounding you every single moment of your life, and you've probably been walking right past it without even noticing. While millions of people are exhausting themselves trying to earn God's love, prove their worth, or find their purpose through endless striving and self-improvement, they're missing the most profound truth that could transform everything. Grace isn't something you achieve, it's something you receive, and it's been freely available to you since the moment you took your first breath. Most religious people will tell you that you need to get your life together first, clean up your act, and then maybe God will notice you. But what if I told you that's not just wrong? It's the complete opposite of how grace actually works. You see, grace operates on a completely different economy than everything else in this world. It's the only force that gives you exactly what you don't deserve and asks for absolutely nothing in return. It's scandalous, it's unfair to our human sense of justice, and it's the most beautiful rebellion against the harsh rules of a world that says you must earn everything you get. Right now, as you're listening to these words, grace is keeping your heart beating, filling your lungs with air, and orchestrating a million invisible miracles in your body that you never had to request or pay for. The same grace that paints every sunrise and holds the stars in place is intimately concerned with the smallest details of your story, the deepest wounds of your heart, and the biggest dreams you've been afraid to voice. But here's where it gets really interesting. Once you start recognizing grace in the ordinary moments of your life, you'll begin to see it everywhere. In second chances you didn't ask for, in doors that opened when others closed, in the people who showed up exactly when you needed them most. This isn't just about feeling better or becoming more positive. This is about discovering that you've been living inside a love story so vast and personal that it will completely rewrite how you see yourself, your relationships, and your future. And the best part? You don't have to wait until you're perfect, successful, or have your life figured out to experience this transformation. It's available to you right now, in this very moment, exactly as you are. There's something extraordinary happening right now, and most people walk past it without even noticing. It's the quiet miracle that keeps your heart beating without you asking it to, the invisible force that fills your lungs with each breath you take. This isn't just biology at work. It's grace in its purest form, weaving itself through the fabric of your ordinary Tuesday morning. Every sunrise that paints the sky, every moment your eyes open to greet another day, carries with it a divine signature that whispers, "You're loved, you're chosen, and you're here for a reason." Most folks spend their days chasing after big, flashy miracles, waiting for something dramatic to prove God's existence in their lives. But what if I told you that the greatest miracles aren't found in the extraordinary, but hidden in plain sight within the mundane? The way your body heals a small cut without any conscious effort from you, the perfect timing of a phone call from a friend when you needed it most, or the inexplicable peace that settles over you during a chaotic moment. These aren't coincidences. They're love letters from heaven. Small tokens of grace that remind you that you're never walking through life alone. The beautiful truth about grace is that it doesn't wait for you to earn it, or even recognize it to start working in your life. Like a gentle river that flows whether anyone's watching or not, grace continues to pour out its blessings, surrounding you with purpose and hope even when you can't see past today's challenges. It's in the stranger who holds the door, the unexpected solution that appears just when you thought all options were exhausted, and the quiet strength that rises within you when you thought you had nothing left to give. This grace that holds your world together is just the beginning of something far more magnificent than you've ever imagined. In a world that never stops moving, there's profound power in learning to hit the pause button on life's relentless rhythm. When you take a moment to breathe deeply and truly acknowledge where you are right now, something remarkable happens. You begin to notice God's fingerprints all over your story. It's like suddenly realizing you've been walking through a gallery of divine artistry, but you've been too busy looking at your phone to see the masterpieces surrounding you. This simple act of pausing isn't just about slowing down. It's about tuning your spiritual antenna to receive the frequency of heaven that's been broadcasting love and guidance into your life all along. Prayer isn't meant to be a formal, rigid conversation where you need perfect words or flawless grammar. Think of it more like sitting with your closest friend who already knows your heart before you even speak. When you create space for gratitude in these quiet moments, you're not just listing things you're thankful for. You're training your soul to recognize God's love language in your everyday experiences. Consider how a musician learns to hear individual instruments in a symphony. Similarly, when you practice pausing to pray, you develop the ability to hear God's voice in the chorus of your daily life, distinguishing His guidance from the noise of worry and distraction. The most transformative prayers often happen not in grand cathedrals, but in the quiet corners of ordinary life, while washing dishes, during your commute, or in those precious minutes before sleep claims you. These moments of recognition become sacred ground where faith takes root and grows stronger. It's in these pauses that you begin to understand that God's presence isn't something you have to search for desperately. It's something you simply need to acknowledge, like opening your eyes to see the sunlight that was always streaming through your window. And once you learn to recognize His presence in the small moments, you'll start to see how He's been orchestrating something beautiful in the bigger picture of your life. There's a scripture that cuts through all the religious noise and speaks directly to the heart of what grace truly means. For by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not your own doing, it is the gift of God. This isn't just theological jargon. It's the most liberating news you'll ever hear. Imagine carrying a backpack filled with every mistake, every regret, every moment you've fallen short, and suddenly someone comes along and says, "Here, let me carry that for you. Forever." That's exactly what God's forgiveness offers. Not because you've earned it or because you've finally gotten your act together, but simply because His love for you runs deeper than your deepest failures. The beautiful paradox of divine forgiveness is that it doesn't require you to become perfect first. It meets you exactly where you are, in all your messy, imperfect humanity. Think about how you feel when someone forgives you for something you thought was unforgivable. That weight lifting off your shoulders, that breath of relief, that sudden hope that maybe you're not as hopeless as you thought. Now multiply that feeling by infinity, and you're beginning to understand the scope of God's grace. It's not a one-time transaction, but a daily renewable resource, available every morning when you wake up, regardless of how badly you think you messed up yesterday. This forgiveness isn't meant to make you complacent or careless. Quite the opposite. When you truly grasp the magnitude of grace that's been poured out on your behalf, it creates something beautiful within you, a desire to live worthy of such love, not out of obligation, but out of gratitude. It's like being adopted into a family that sees your potential even when you can't see it yourself. Every new day becomes a fresh page in your story, unmarked by yesterday's mistakes, full of possibility and purpose. And this gift of new beginnings doesn't just change your relationship with God. It transforms how you see yourself and opens your heart to extend that same grace to others who desperately need it. Every morning when you wake up, there's an invisible network of provision that's been working through the night to ensure you have what you need for another day. The food in your refrigerator, the roof over your head, the clean water that flows from your tap. These aren't just the results of human effort or economic systems. They're manifestations of a divine promise that those who trust in God will never be forsaken or left begging for bread. It's easy to take these blessings for granted until you pause to consider how many things had to align perfectly for that simple glass of water to reach your lips, or for that paycheck to arrive exactly when your bills were due. But God's provision goes far beyond meeting your basic needs. It extends into the realm of protection you never even realize you needed. Think about the close calls you've experienced, the accidents that almost happened but didn't, the dangerous situations you narrowly avoided. There's an old saying that angels work overtime, and there's profound truth in that humor. Every day, you're surrounded by a shield of divine protection that deflects troubles you'll never know about. It's like having a personal security team that you can't see but that never takes a break, never misses a threat, and never fails to intervene at just the right moment. This understanding of provision and protection should bring both peace and purpose to your daily life. When you realize that the same God who makes sure the sun rises each morning and keeps the planets in their orbits is also intimately concerned with your needs, it changes how you approach both abundance and scarcity. You begin to see every blessing not as something you deserve, but as evidence of a love so vast it takes care of sparrows, and yet knows the number of hairs on your head. And this recognition naturally leads to a deeper faith, one that trusts in God's timing, believes in His goodness even during difficult seasons, and looks forward with hope to how His grace will continue to unfold in the chapters of your life yet to be written. One of the most beautiful ways God demonstrates His grace is through the people He places in your path. Friends who show up with soup when you're sick, family members who forgive you even when you don't deserve it, and strangers who offer kindness when you least expect it. These aren't random acts of human goodness. They're divine appointments where heaven touches earth through ordinary people. The Scripture reminds us to use whatever gift you have received to serve others, as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. And suddenly you realize that every act of love you've received from another person has been grace wrapped in human skin. Think about the relationships that have shaped your life. The teacher who believed in you when you didn't believe in yourself, the friend who stuck by you through your darkest season, or the mentor who saw potential in you that you couldn't see. These people weren't just being nice. They were vessels through which God's love flowed into your life at exactly the moment you needed it most. And here's what's truly remarkable. You've been that vessel for others too, often without even realizing it. That encouraging word you spoke, that helping hand you extended, that listening ear you provided, all of it was grace flowing through you to someone who desperately needed to know they weren't alone. The beauty of community is that it creates a network of grace that multiplies exponentially. When one person receives forgiveness, they become more capable of forgiving others. When someone experiences unconditional love, they naturally begin to love others more freely. It's like a spiritual domino effect where grace begets grace, and love generates more love. This is why isolation is so dangerous to the soul. It cuts us off from both giving and receiving the grace that flows through authentic relationships. But when you engage with others in genuine community, you become part of something bigger than yourself. A living, breathing demonstration of God's love that has the power to transform not just individual hearts, but entire families, neighborhoods, and even nations. There's something counterintuitive about how God works through the difficult seasons of life. The very challenges that seem designed to break you often become the catalysts that make you stronger, wiser, and more compassionate than you ever imagined possible. When you're in the middle of a storm, it's hard to see any grace in the chaos. But looking back, you'll often discover that your greatest growth happened not during the easy times, but when you were forced to dig deeper and find strength you didn't know you possessed. It's like a muscle that only grows when it's challenged. Your faith, your character, and your resilience develop most profoundly when they're tested under pressure. Consider how some of life's most painful experiences have become your greatest teachers. The job loss that forced you to discover a new career path you love. The relationship that ended but taught you what you truly need in a partner. Or the health scare that made you appreciate every healthy day as a gift. These weren't punishments from heaven. They were grace disguised as hardship. Opportunities for transformation wrapped in packages you initially wanted to return to sender. God has this remarkable ability to take the worst thing that's ever happened to you and somehow weave it into the fabric of something beautiful, using your pain as the foundation for your purpose. The most profound truth about growth through trials is that it prepares you to help others navigate similar challenges with wisdom and empathy you never could have possessed otherwise. Every obstacle you've overcome becomes a stepping stone you can offer to someone else who's struggling to cross the same difficult terrain. Your scars become testimonies, your setbacks become setups for comebacks, and your tests become your testimony. This is how grace works in the economy of God. Nothing is wasted. Every experience serves a purpose, and even your failures can become the fertile soil from which your greatest successes will eventually grow. In a world where chaos seems to be the default setting and anxiety feels like a constant companion, there exists a supernatural peace that doesn't make logical sense. It's the peace that surpasses all understanding, the kind that can settle your heart even when your circumstances are anything but settled. This isn't the peace of having everything figured out or having all your problems solved. It's the deeper peace of knowing that someone bigger than your problems is working behind the scenes on your behalf. It's like being in the eye of a hurricane, where everything around you may be swirling wildly, but at your center, there's an unshakable calm that comes from trusting in God's goodness and sovereignty over your life. Purpose isn't something you find by searching desperately for it. It's something that emerges naturally when you align yourself with God's heart for the world around you. Every person you encounter, every skill you've developed, every experience you've lived through has equipped you to make a unique contribution that nobody else can make quite the way you can. Your purpose might be as grand as starting a non-profit organization, or as simple as being the person in your office who always has an encouraging word for struggling colleagues. The key is understanding that purpose isn't about the size of your impact, but about the authenticity of your obedience to love others the way God has loved you. Hope is perhaps the most resilient gift that grace provides. It's the quiet confidence that no matter how dark the current chapter of your story may be, it's not the final chapter. Hope whispers to you in the middle of sleepless nights that morning is coming, reminds you during seasons of waiting that God's timing is perfect, and assures you when doors close that better doors are being prepared to open. This hope isn't wishful thinking or positive mental attitude. It's an anchor for your soul, grounded in the unchanging character of a God who has never broken a promise and never will. And as this peace, purpose, and hope take root in your heart, they begin to overflow into every relationship, every decision, and every dream you carry for the future. The most beautiful thing about receiving grace isn't just what it does for you, it's what it does through you. When you've truly experienced the depth of God's unconditional love and forgiveness, something remarkable happens. You become a conduit for that same grace to flow into the lives of others. It's like a river that's meant to keep flowing. When grace stops with you, it becomes stagnant, but when you allow it to pour through you to others, it stays fresh and life-giving. You start looking at difficult people differently, seeing them not as obstacles to your peace, but as fellow travelers who might be carrying burdens you can't see and desperately need the same grace that rescued you from your own struggles. This transformation doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't require you to become perfect before you can be useful. In fact, your imperfections often become your greatest qualifications for showing grace to others who are struggling with similar challenges. The parent who's learned to forgive their own mistakes becomes patient with their children's failures. The person who's experienced addiction and recovery becomes a beacon of hope for others trapped in destructive patterns. The individual who's walked through depression and found healing becomes a lifeline for someone drowning in despair. Your testimony of grace received becomes your ministry of grace given, creating an endless cycle of love that ripples out far beyond what you'll ever be able to see or measure. Living as a vessel of grace means you become someone who offers second chances freely, who speaks words that build up rather than tear down, and who chooses forgiveness even when it's not deserved, because that's exactly what was done for you. You become the kind of person others feel safe around, someone who creates space for others to be human without fear of judgment or condemnation. This isn't about being weak or allowing others to take advantage of you. It's about being strong enough to love like God loves, wise enough to see beyond surface behaviors to the heart needs underneath. And in becoming this kind of person, you discover that giving grace away doesn't diminish what you have. It multiplies it, creating more love, more peace, and more joy than you ever thought possible. So here's my challenge for you. For the next 7 days, I want you to become a grace detective in your own life. Start your morning by taking 3 deep breaths and acknowledging one simple grace you might normally overlook. Maybe it's the fact that you woke up. Maybe it's the coffee in your cup. Or maybe it's simply that your heart kept beating through the night without you having to think about it. Then, as you go through your day, look for opportunities to be a vessel of that same grace to someone else. Offer forgiveness when it's not deserved, speak encouragement instead of criticism, or simply listen without judgment to someone who needs to be heard. But I have to ask you something, and I want you to be brutally honest with yourself. What would change in your life if you truly believed that you're surrounded by this kind of unconditional love every single day? What dreams would you pursue if you knew that grace would catch you if you fell? What relationships would you heal if you had the courage to extend the same forgiveness you've received? And here's the most important question of all. If grace has been working in your life all along, what's stopping you from recognizing it and letting it transform not just how you see yourself, but how you treat everyone around you? Don't let this be just another inspirational message that makes you feel good for a moment and then gets buried under tomorrow's distractions. Your life is too valuable, your story is too important, and the people in your world need the grace that's been poured into you too desperately for you to keep it to yourself. If this message opened your eyes to see grace in a new way, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss the life-changing content we share here every week. And please, share this video with someone who needs to be reminded that they're loved beyond measure and surrounded by miracles they've probably been taking for granted. God bless you, and may His grace continue to surround you in ways that take your breath away.